back to the Overplayed Podcast, the home of sports and sports gaming in your ear every Thursday afternoon. By the way, in case you're trying to remember when we drop the episodes, that's when they happen. My name is GoodGameBro. I'm here to remind you of a couple of things. One of those being, if you have not left a 5-star rating yet, I'm a little perturbed, okay? Mills is also a little perturbed. We're looking for 5-star reviews. We're this close to 50, okay? Tap that 5-star rating on your favorite little app. Make us happy. And then if you leave a written review as well, and we see it once Apple or whoever starts to push it through, shout you out. That's an incredible
I'm
feeling.
just perturbed as normal, right? It's my old man thing, right?
You're the get off my lawn kind of guy. But that gentleman you hear over there, that's the guy who will be shaving his beard off after my charity stream.
Wait, hold on.
April 17th for St. Jude.
We're not going to continue this. No, listen, I was completely bamboozled into this. No. You didn't tell me that you did a St. Jude stream last June where, by the way, congratulations. Where you raised over $20,000 and your goal this year would be significantly more than that as it stood. You sat there with this eating grin on your face, waiting for me to talk myself into a corner. I'm just going to say this, all right? Mm-hmm. The beard is up, but we might up the cost a little bit. I might help out too, but we might up the cost. $10,000. You made double that already, and people should. You made double that, and you should be looking higher. Listen. What I'm doing right now is I am helping you set your standards higher. All right. Can you imagine the goals you can be lofted to with a guy like me in your corner? And this luscious, beautiful mane on my chin mane, okay? In your corner. We can go higher than this. I believe that. And okay. I'm definitely scared.
So I've taken everything you said into consideration. I think you've made some really good points there. So I think in the spirit of... It's tough. In the spirit of fairness, Mills.
I like this. I like sensible GGB. This is good.
This is tough. I don't like being sensible, but this is good. To be fair, in the spirit of fairness here, I will stick with the $10,000 requirement because a bet is a bet, and you win with it. That is your problem.
Oh, Beer's coming off
shortly after.
This is why we stopped doing the all-day parlay. You know that, right? Because I just couldn't help myself sometimes.
Other than knowing that your beard is potentially coming off in the near future, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, actually. It's been a kind of a busy week. Baseball started up. I'm having a ton of fun with Outriders, having a ton of fun with NBA's had some cool stuff. I mean, I think they've kind of fallen off from last season with their My Team gear. Madden just released, as we're recording this, golden tickets, so their hype is an all-time high for their Ultimate Team. Little down in the dumps on MLB, but I'm getting better. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah, MLB.
It's a nice tweet that you had there, by the way. We'll talk about that. Let's get into MLB a little later because there's a lot to unpack with MLB The Show. This episode. I know a lot of you are gonna want to hear that, so let's definitely get into that a little later. As you hear this, if you look into the description, there are actually going to be timestamps this week, so be ready for that.
Yeah, we're trying to help you out with the little footnotes there.
I got you.
But I've been watching religiously Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Been enjoying that. This past episode was really fun. I've been heavy into Invincible. I'm caught up fully on that now. I think that's 3-4 episodes in. Incredible. Really enjoying that. A ton. And then Outriders, which I've been super excited about after hearing you talk about it for whatever amount of time now, which has been way too long. Today I've had literally issues where I streamed it for an hour and a half. It cut off and literally turned my system off 7 different times in an hour and a half. And I was just frustrated. Yep. I will say what they're doing from a company communication perspective, phenomenal. They're being transparent. They're being open and honest. And I love that. But I turned off motion blur and I changed a couple of settings on console and I skipped the cutscenes and it hasn't locked up after an hour of gameplay. So I'm just going to cross my fingers now.
They had some, and I don't like to say acceptable or expected server issues the first weekend because I really believe we're in a world where we shouldn't have to expect that kind of thing. But New game comes out. It's heavily server based. It's doing massive numbers, by the way, and Game Pass helping that along. But yeah, not just drumming Avengers, and it's not just Game Pass. Like they're over 100,000 concurrents on Steam, which was a $60 like experience.
It's the number 4 paid game on Xbox right now. So like Game Pass is one thing, but people are purchasing that game heavily now. So
I'm so I mean, obviously I'm associated with them. To be transparent, I am an Outriders ambassador, but I'm really proud of what they're doing. Yeah, it is a little flex, not gonna lie. Their community management, like you said, has been really, really open with not only their ambassadors, but with the public. And I think and again, we're going to go back to MLB here because we're going to talk about transparency a lot. We talk about transparency a lot on this podcast. It's such a big thing. If you're transparent with your audience, they tend to be a lot more understanding. It's when you let your audience flounder in like mystery of nothing is when things start to happen. So I'm really proud of that. But this weekend, there was a bigger thing than Outriders. March Madness.
Oh, my God.
March Madness. Let's get to this week in sports because I remember last week, okay?
Of course.
Remember last week somebody talking about, who was going to win out of the Final Four on the men's side. Do you remember this conversation?
You had a 1 in 4 chance, and you happen to be correct.
I mean, who picked them at the beginning as well to win?
I had him in my top 2. They were in my championship game.
No. Who picked Baylor to win it all when we talked about all 68 teams being in? I believe that was
a Baylor alum.
Baylor over Texas was my final game, and I had Baylor winning it all. And Texas lost real early. Okay, listen, I take my L's, then I take my W's. Okay, I eat them both, Jameis, I'll eat my W's the same time I'll eat my L's. Okay, but I had Baylor the whole way. Let's just put it this way. Baylor did to Gonzaga what I don't think anyone thought they were going to do, okay? I thought everyone thought it was going to be a good game. At the very least, they also hit the under, by the way. The under was 159.5. They hit the under against a Gonzaga team that runs heavily. They made guys like, we talked about it before the podcast, but the guys like Drew Timme look weak. I don't think Drew Timme had a good game at all. I think they isolated Suggs a lot. Dude, what did Baylor? What was the strategy for Baylor?
Baylor, I think for a lot of the teams out there, they're every game they won was by double digits except for one, and that was the Arkansas game, maybe, I think. But I think every other game they won was by double digits. The thing about Baylor is Baylor probably has the closest to modern day NBA players than I think really any team does. Baylor also prides themselves heavily on defense and being up in your face. Like Baylor will not give you breathing room. Baylor also has athletic bigs. Baylor also has athletic guards. Those are the things. And typically in March Madness, what wins you the game is going to be senior leadership or guard play. Or a combination of the both. Those are typically the things that really drive you. I think an important factor was Suggs getting in foul trouble early. I think he had 2 fouls relatively early. He had to sit out for a little bit.
Yep.
Timme looked like he hadn't faced anyone that athletic in his career. I think they were doing some really good things scheme-wise to really keep him sort of out of his comfort zone and sending bodies at him. And like, if you do that, it's tough. I don't want to say that he had a case of lemon booty, but I think Drew Timme is very skilled. I think he's going to be a solid NBA pro. But I think that was a wake-up call for him about, like, at some point, if you're not getting the ball or you're not getting the ball in the spot you want, you have got to still be able to put the ball in the bucket, right? Timme was a hooper in high school. His Ball is Life mixtape is incredible. His body of work so far at Gonzaga has been phenomenal.
Especially the season.
Yeah.
This season he's been dominant. Yeah. So question for you. We're getting back to Drew Timme here in a second. I want to talk about Gonzaga Baylor because this was a game we were supposed to see earlier in the season too. There was a lot of talk about
cut, right? Yeah,
it was a COVID game that got cut out earlier in the season. Do you think that this title game looks different a second time around if they faced off in midseason the same way? Gonzaga didn't lose a game all year. Baylor lost 2. If they faced off, I think the game was scheduled for December. Do you think an early season matchup between these two teams changes what this matchup looks like?
I don't think it changes the outcome from a W and L perspective. I think Baylor probably still wins, but I think it changes the gap of the game, right? I don't think it's a 16-point win. Maybe it's a 4 to 6 point win at that point for Baylor. My heart goes out, like, shout out to Baylor winning their first men's basketball title. Great, right?
Yeah.
My heart goes out to Mark Few because that dude has built a massive program at Gonzaga. He has come up short time after time after time. And you can argue now he is the probably greatest college coach who's never won the big game, or at least active at this point. It's wild. And
literally every time Gonzaga loses, the first thing that comes out is they never play anybody regular season. They could have an unbelievable out of conference regular season, and every time they lose in the tournament, it's always going to be, well, Gonzaga doesn't really face anybody. They're a mid-major conference. You don't have to worry about that. And they do. They actually try to schedule. The thing is, none of these larger teams want to face Gonzaga regular season, because that is, I hate to say this, for a lot of these teams, it's an automatic L. Like the way Gonzaga plays, the way they recruit, the way they bring that team out, the way that the speed at which they play, the athleticism with which they play, the fact that they could put Drew Timme in, and if they really wanted to go big on you, they would. Like, that's not a team you want to see anywhere in the regular season. And to Baylor's credit, they'd schedule them even if it was a COVID cut. So I tend to agree with you. I think Gonzaga got kind of blindsided early on. And I don't think they ever recovered. I think they were down 10 points in the first 4 minutes, and I don't think they ever really recovered from that. And that was a lot of Baylor pressure defense doing that. So I think Gonzaga's way more ready for that if they've seen it once, if they can go back and watch tape on it. Because again, Baylor didn't play anyone that was even like Gonzaga regular season. Like it's really hard to watch tape against somebody that doesn't have the talent you do and what Baylor's going to prepare for you. And that pressure defense was insane for them.
Agreed. I think, though, you made a good point talking about sort of the regular season and how Gonzaga's conference schedule is trash, but their out of conference schedule is, I think, great. I'm looking at it here. Opening night, number 6 Kansas, December 2nd, number 11 West Virginia. Then obviously the Baylor game gets canceled early December. They play number 3 Iowa and beat them. Number 16 Virginia and beat them. And then they're playing like Northern Arizona, Dixie State, which I'm now aware of is a school. I had no idea. They play, classes like Pepperdine, St. Mary's is there. But really there's not, you can argue, like, you look at after Virginia, which is the day after Christmas, when they start playing Northern Arizona December 28th,
it never comes back up. Nothing.
They don't play another quality school literally until they get to March Madness.
Right. And that's the thing, is that everyone remembers January, February. They don't remember that Gonzaga is actively still trying to do these schedules, but they can't. Conference play's happening. And again, there's not a team in this nation that's going to schedule Gonzaga in the middle of their conference play. It's just not a smart move. It's going to take multi-million-dollar kind of deals to bring those in. And I think the best thing for Gonzaga at some point is probably going to get in one of the Power 5 conferences and really.
Do you think they can do that without having a football program? I think that's the hardest part for them.
Well, the thing is, there are some schools that live and die off their basketball program that just kind of have a football program. Gonzaga doesn't even have, correct me if I'm wrong, Gonzaga doesn't even have a football program, which is the big problem. And when you look at the Power 5 conferences, I don't care what kind of basketball school you are, you have to have a football program. That's the big moneymaker most of the time. So I don't know, man. Let's go over two little things wrapping this up. Which team has a better chance of repeating next year if you had to pick one of the two?
Man, I mean, Timmy's going to be gone. Suggs is going to be gone. Kisper's gone. Jai's probably gone. They're going to, I remember you know what? Actually, I want to say Baylor, but they're getting that 7'1" kid. Oh my God.
They've got a couple of real big. So I was going to say that.
Pat Holmgren, I think, is coming in.
Yeah. Baylor's got a couple of really big prospects coming in to kind of reload. They are losing some guard leadership, I think. I still think Baylor has a better chance at Gonzaga because Gonzaga is graduating a lot, and Gonzaga still recruits well, but Baylor's got some, I think, 2 almost McDonald's All-Americans coming in. I know 1 guaranteed, possibly 2 coming in. So I think Baylor's got a better shot. I don't think either team's really going to do it. I think there are a lot of teams that were young in this March Madness that are going to be prepared for both squads coming up in next year. But I think Baylor's got the better chance overall from if we're just comparing those two.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably going Gonzaga, though, honestly. The interesting thing for Baylor is that that team is constructed a lot of like transfers, and it's not a lot of like homegrown talent, which is really interesting.
Great
They
point.
have one 5-star kid coming in, Kendall Brown. Then they have a 4-star in Langston Love, and then they have a 4-star in Jeremy Sochin. No idea how to say that. I honestly think Chet Holmgren is going to be really, really fun to watch next year. I think he's going to be what we wanted Bol Bol to be when Bol Bol was at Oregon.
Those are big shoes.
Yeah, so I think Chet Holmgren is going to be like that player we love to watch next year. He's going to be a Gonzaga. He's going to do the Adam Morrison type, float around offense, shoot a lot of threes, get to the bucket. I think Gonzaga has a really good chance next year to make a run.
We talked a lot about Drew Timme already. Let me just ask, when it comes to, we know pretty much everybody else's draft ceiling right now. Drew Timme's a weird prospect here. Drew Timme was extremely dominant for most of the season, but like you said, he's a back to the basket. His feet aren't particularly fast. What are his NBA prospects coming up with the draft? We know he's going to the draft. He's probably not a first rounder at this point, but what's his ceiling in the NBA with what game he plays right now?
Yeah, I think Timmy's game's gonna have to evolve a lot. I think I can do the very easy comparison, which is funny because the mock draft literally just said this when I was looking at it earlier. Indiana, right? The home of
Pacers,
like tall white guys for sure. Like I can see that. I think a team like San Antonio can make a lot of sense for Drew Timme. I think Drew Timme is going to have an interesting career in the NBA. I don't see him being a star. I see him being a guy that is a sixth man and is a heck of a sixth man. But I really think Timmy's going to be a guy that, for him to be the most effective, his game needs to evolve the way of Danilo Gallinari. If you can get him to be a Gallinari type guy where he can start hitting good threes and can be a good shooter from outside, he's 6'10", which is similar to Gallinari. Gallinari can also be a back to the basket guy. He's got a nice little step back fadeaway as well. He can finish underneath the bucket. To me, that's where, if I'm Timme, I'm modeling my game after Gallinari, because you can make a whole lot of money doing that, and you can still get a lot of good minutes playing that kind of role.
Yeah, I agree. I think Drew Timme's going to go as far as his shot lets him, as his set shot lets him. He's going to have to be able to catch and shoot, especially the way the NBA is built right now. He's still going to be able to use that back to the basket a little bit because he is a pretty good passer. He's a pretty good passer out of the inside, but there's just no NBA teams that run inside out anymore, and it's really tough for a team to evolve that. So he's going to go as far as his shot goes. Speaking of going as far as your shot goes, Nick Castellanos hit a couple of massive dongs in his first couple of days in MLB opening day weekend, and then immediately got plunked, got around the bases, got laid on coming into home plate, and then flexed to the pitcher, starting what was not a brawl, but it emptied both benches between Cincinnati and the Cardinals. Come to find out, Nick Castellanos got a 2-game suspension for flexing for aggressive behavior, and nobody else was suspended. Not Yadier Molina, who was catching at the time, not the pitcher for the Cardinals that plunked Castellanos. Can we just talk about, again, how the MLB is not allowing their players to show any personality here? Let me be very clear. Where I stand is you do not celebrate at another player. I'm okay with that rule. You don't show aggression to another player. But if you get plunked 93 mile an hour with a baseball in your ribs, yes, that throws it off 100%. Show up the pitcher, show up the catcher on your way off to some extent. But the dude flexed at a pitcher for literally a half a second and then walked off the field before his teammates were the ones that kind of emptied out. How is this anything but, number one, fair to Castellanos being the other one suspended? And number two, how does this look for let the kids play where, one of their other faces just got injured? We thought it could be season ending. We'll talk about Tatis here in a second, but the whole thing is let the kids play. And the first thing you do is that when you see one of the kids play, you suspend him for 2 games.
Yeah, baseball is the softest sport out there right now. It pisses me off so much. You're watching basketball. A dude hits a 3-pointer. He's doing whatever gesture, right? It's Melo doing the 3 to the head, or it's, the ice in my veins or whatever. You dunk on somebody. You're flexing. You're letting out a level of emotion. You're playing football. You hit somebody hard or you sack a quarterback. What are you doing? You're celebrating to a degree. No matter hockey, you're strumming the guitar off the, whatever you're playing, you're doing a form of celebration. To have someone in a sport to do something in a clutch moment your initial reaction, unless you are a mayonnaise flavored robot like Mike Trout, no disrespect, just a mayonnaise flavored robot, your initial reaction is always to do something. You might be, you might be a Call of Duty streamer and scream, "Let's go" nonstop, or you might flex, or you might do whatever. To penalize someone for letting out that emotion in the confines of the game, right? In the flow of the game is dumb, is idiotic, and it turns people off from your sport. Stop doing dumb stuff. You just did something really good. You just penalized the state of Georgia for their dumb mess up that they're doing, like from a legislative perspective.
Props to MLB for doing that, by the way.
Exactly. You make a good move there, and then you make a really dumb move, obviously on a smaller scale, but the MLB just can't get out of their way, in my opinion.
I agree. And again, we just talked about one of their faces got hurt in a non-contact injury. It looks like they thought it was going to be it is a partially torn labrum for Fernando Tatis. He's only going to be, he went the 10-day IL. They're hoping 2 to 3 weeks. That could have been a season-long suspension. That would have been 2 major black eyes on, again, the let the kids play movement. Bat flips. Even Marcus Stroman came out today and was talking about it to Pitching Ninja on Twitter, where Pitching Ninja put up a thing of Marcus Stroman like strutting on the mound, and Marcus Stroman was like, "I don't even think about that. Like, I'm just in the zone." Think about that. Like, he could get suspended. If he gets suspended for that, now he's not only that. Now he's got to start thinking about what he's doing on the mound while he's pitching. Let these kids flip a bat. Let them play. Let them play the game. Let people enjoy the game. Let them enjoy the game. MLB, put your whistle in your pocket, okay? It's the fourth quarter for you, all right? There are other sports that are looking at you, eyeing up with vultures, savaging around your fan base right now. Time to put the whistle away. Let the kids play. Bat flip, strut, fist pump. Do it all. Do it all. Go have some fun.
You know what the MLB is? They are the equivalent of when you're watching a basketball game and a dude posterizes someone and hangs on the rim for a split second too long.
Ref
and the referee blows a whistle.
Yep.
They are that referee.
You right there. That's a technical. That's a technical for hanging on the rim too long.
And they call that because they've never done anything athletic in their entire life.
Yep, exactly. Speaking of and anything athletic, Sam Darnold, how you doing there, Mr. Ciangos? Gets traded to the Carolina Panthers for picks. The Jets have made it very apparent they're going quarterback early on. We talked about this before. We didn't know what they were going to do. That's fine. So Sam Darnold on the Carolina Panthers. The NFC South is not particularly good behind Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay bringing back all 22 starters. Was the problem in New York Sam Darnold, or was the problem in New York Adam Gase and the coaching staff? I will remind you, the team he's going to has his old number 1 receiver who did not look good until he got to Carolina. That on the board is the problem. What's the problem in New York? Sam Darnold, and the Carolina Panthers going to be better with Darnold as opposed to Teddy Bridgewater, who's already been okay to seek a trade.
Yep. I love that they're letting Teddy Bridgewater seek a trade because he 100% deserves that. If there's one dude I want to see go shine, it is Teddy Bridgewater. More than any other quarterback in the league right now, I want to see Teddy B shine. Because
best backup in the league forever. Best backup in the league forever. That's what he's been known as.
Absolutely. So with... I almost called him Bradford with Darnold.
Sam Bradford. I mean,
yeah, that tells you how I'm thinking about him already. So with Darnold, I don't think he is the largest portion of the problem that was the New York Jets with his situation. I think Gase is a much larger problem, right? I don't think Adam Gase is a great coach. Yep. I think there are hours long conversations worth of issues with Adam Gase and why I don't understand why he keeps getting a job, but that's another conversation. I think with Darnold, there are flashes in the pan with him that make you go, yo, like that dude's got something. But there are also significant stretches where you're like, bro, how are you a starting quarterback in the NFL right now? Like you wouldn't be playing if you weren't playing for the Jets. It's like what a lot of my brain ended up thinking about him. Darnold is 23, I think.
He is a couple months older than Mac Jones coming out of the draft.
Wild. Okay.
Remember that. He's as old as a senior, like a 5th-year senior coming out of college ball. So he's got plenty of football ahead of him. But to be fair, this is going to save the Jets from picking up a $19 million 5th-year option, and it's going to require Carolina to re-sign him to get continued value.
For sure. But they'll be able to do the 5th-year player option. So it's like they're not going to be spending copious amounts of money on Darnold at least. So I think there's some some stuff there. My thing is I don't love the second round pick of the trade. What they were doing from like current compensation, I thought was like I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Then when I heard a second rounder next year, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it is. It does feel like there's a lot. It does feel like there's a lot of draft capital going back for a guy who's not really proven himself. That being said, again, we're going to talk about this. Would you take Sam Darnold with a second round pick this year? Like if you were the Carolina Panthers, you don't give up your first round pick. Would you take a guy like Sam Darnold with your second round pick? I would tend to say yes, kind of, especially
I do.
But if you believe that his problem was Adam Gase, and remember, they've got his old WR1. They've got the guy that used to throw him passes, and you have to think that they went to Robbie Anderson and said, what do you think about Sam Darnold? You've caught passes from before. I have to believe somewhere inside of me that Sam Darnold is a, God, don't say it, top 15 quarterback in the NFL inside of him.
Bills.
Otherwise, dude, I'm telling you, I think what happened with the Jets, I don't think it's an easy language to understand. Everyone that has gone to the Jets under Adam Gase, none of them have succeeded. Every single person that has come out of that offensive system has flourished outside of it. And now Darnold's going to have Christian McCaffrey back healthy. He's going to have two really good receivers, although they lost Curtis Samuel. He's going to have Robbie Anderson on the outside. He's going to have a very decent offensive line. And again, in a 17-game season, they're in a not good division. They're going to be able to face off against the terrible Falcons. And I'm going to tell you right now, the not really that great Saints, even though they're going to have a decent offense, they're going to have Taysom Hill at quarterback for at least 3 games before he gets benched.
No, Jameis will start there. No shot.
Look at me. It's Sean Payton. He wants to be smarter than everybody else. Taysom Hill is going to start that season for them. If Jameis starts for them, they're a 10-win team.
For sure.
Yeah, if Jameis starts for them, the Saints are a 10-win team. I really do think they're going to try Taysom Hill here. With Tampa Bay being the class of that division, I do think this is a year for Carolina. And I don't think they're going to, I'm with you there. I don't think they're going to extend Darnold. I think they're going to see what they have, but I think they've got a gem on their hands. I'm not talking top 5. I'm not talking top 10. I'm thinking he scratches the top 15 with how he's able to play. Teddy Bridgewater, who I have a lot of respect for and is a very good quarterback, was really good in Carolina with that offense. I think this offense works for Sam Darnold really well, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
I hear you. I mean, they have Joe Brady too, who's, they're touting as their QB whisperer, and Matt Rule being a more recently college-based coach is probably going to be more invested in, solidifying who his quarterback is. I just think, to answer your question about the second round draft pick this year, how I would view it is I always try to view it of who do I currently have? And do I view this player as having a higher upside than who I currently have?
Oh, that's a good point.
For me, I don't believe in Darnold enough to say he's worth the gamble. I would keep Teddy B. I've already seen what I can get from him. I'm going Teddy B. I'm loading up on offense. I'm using that number 8 pick to hopefully get somebody incredibly talented. Like, imagine if Kyle Pitts were to fall to like the number 8 pick.
Oh my God.
Right. And then you have him, the versatile weapon, Shadow Bengal.
He's not, by the way. So we're clear. Kyle Pitts is not going past 3 or 4.
For sure. But like, imagine if you had that sort of type of player, or let's say Jamar Chase or someone of that nature slides. And now you're like, okay, now I can get Jamar Chase at 8 to pair with who I already have a receiver. I don't lose that second round capital from next year. That's just sort of where my brain goes. But
I'm with you.
It's a tough angle, I think, regardless.
Well, I will tell you this. We know one person that's not going to be quarterbacking the Panthers even before this, and it does look like he's not going to be quarterbacking possibly anybody this season. Nike has come out and revoked their sponsorship with Deshaun Watson after more allegations have come out. We talked about Deshaun very extensively in one podcast, and I think we're both going to go back a little bit here because we both said that what the lawyer was doing was not a good look. I stand by the fact the lawyer was not a good look. I think he took things the wrong way. Or went about things the wrong way. That being said, we've gone from 3 allegations to in the 20s now. And we're not talking about just allegations anymore. There have been suits filed. At first you say, hey, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's fire. Like there's Nike pulls from you. Nike's not doing that because Nike will stand by you as far as they want. Nike knows something's going to happen to Deshaun Watson. And what we thought this offseason was going to be the crown jewel of the trade game when he requested a trade. Now there's nothing to Deshaun Watson. And it looks like the signing of Tyrod Taylor may have been a backup for them to get ready for not having Deshaun Watson, which again, be very clear in this situation, what happens to Deshaun Watson on the field is secondary to what's going to happen to him off the field and what he may have done to multiple women in these massage parlors.
Yeah, this is wild, man. I think the number I saw today was 22. And when you start thinking about, or we start peeling back, layers through the allegations, like, the testimony of the young woman who put out her video statement, were fine to watch, terrible to watch. And like hearing her talk about, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember her exact quote, but what she said was along the lines of, she got into massage therapy to help people and help heal people and, comfort them to that degree. And she feels robbed of that ability, and that is going to stick with her for the rest of her time. And I'm like, that is powerful. I think for a lot of people to sort of like understand and sort of conceptualize like what this actually has done. Right. And I think, the other big piece for me too, that I had read, I think prior to that, was that he had allegedly, because obviously we're dealing with allegations still here, but
Agreed.
Allegedly had asked all these women to sign like non-disclosure agreements, things of that nature. And I guess an argument could be made that, okay, he's a celebrity or an athlete, and so maybe he wants to, keep it from that nature, but it also, it sort of leads to like where this is going, where you're like, man, a non-disclosure agreement for a massage therapist, like you can kind of see where that maybe goes. Yes. So yeah. I do agree. I think his time in the NFL is going to be done. This is a tough thing, man. Like I to your point, like this is more about the women than it is about Deshaun Watson, but I don't see how, with 22 allegations, with the statement that lady put out, with the other piece of information that are coming out, and sort of how his camp is talking about things now, how he ever quarterbacks in the NFL again.
I agree. Like we're covering sports here, so let's be very clear that when we're commenting on sports, it's because we cover sports on the podcast. So there's 22 women. I 100% hope they get every single penny or whatever they can do to help them through any of this. But going from 3 allegations where we commented on this before to 22 with again, the video statement is completely damning.
Yep.
There's no way he's got to be done. And it's just crazy to believe that earlier this season, before any of this came out, we were talking about, the Dolphins, or can you imagine if he got traded before this came out, like where that would be? Can you imagine the haul that would have been taken from that? It's just insane. Also this week, we have 2 major sporting events happening this weekend. Actually one of them is happening as we record this because it's a week-long thing. We're going to talk about just real quick shots on both of them. Wrestlemania is going on right now. NXT TakeOver is their first bit here. And I mean, their first major event we're going to see back. And in baseball, let's not talk about Texas. God, let's not talk about Texas baseball. But the first wrestling event we're going to see back with fans is going to be WrestleMania this coming weekend. The same thing with the Masters. Like we've been seeing, obviously, fans back at golf. Talk a little bit about what you think about WrestleMania. Obviously, I'm a huge fan, so I can't wait to see Drew McIntyre kick the crap out of Bobby Lashley. I cannot wait to see I can't wait to see Roman Reigns go down. I'm waiting for the head of the table to be knocked out of the seat. It's got to be Daniel Bryan. It's got to be Edge. One of those two. I'm talking about Edge in 2021 wrestling, by the way.
That's why I was looking at the website and was like, wait, Edge is wrestling still?
Yeah, Edge is back. Edge is back, baby. Dude, it's just, there's only one time a year, there's 2 times a year I really get like completely soaked for wrestling. I'm a huge fan, but the 2 times a year are Royal Rumble, which I think is still the best pay-per-view they have. And dude, WrestleMania is a week-long event. They have the Hall of Fame, the Raw Monday night, Hall of Fame Tuesday, a 2-night takeover on Wednesday and Thursday. They're having quote-unquote WrestleMania SmackDown on Friday. It's a 2-night Mania because they don't want to do an 8-hour Mania again. 2-night Mania. Like, this is insane. I can't wait till next year when we finally get back to like normal. Hopefully we're back to normal and we get to have that WrestleMania like event week again and like be able to do cons and stuff and like TwitchCon and like all that stuff. But still, WrestleMania as a whole, it just for me represents maybe the coming to an end, because Wrestlemania was kind of like the start for me for like the whole pandemic. It does feel like we're finally, and we're not there yet, but finally coming to an end of this pandemic and kind of getting back to some normalcy.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Like to me, like I haven't been big into wrestling for a number of years now, but what I've always appreciated about wrestling, especially events like WrestleMania or especially the Royal Rumble, which is one of the dopest events I think in any sport in general, the pop of the crowds in wrestling is I think one of the coolest things when a big move lands or a frog splash or a suplex or someone does something like when Shane McMahon jumped off the cage. I don't know, that was in WrestleMania. I think that was something else. But when something of that nature happens in wrestling, the pop of the audience is so unique that it differs from every sport, right? It differs from a home run, a game-winning shot, an overtime goal, whatever it might be. Like that sound is incredible. So I look forward to wrestling fans having that back.
And talking about major events in its respective sport, the highlight, the pinnacle of all golf, Augusta National, the Masters. It's got its own little history. It's okay. We're gonna ignore that for right now. But the Masters is this weekend. It's going to be the first Masters I can think of for a while without Tiger. But some big names: Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka's going to be there. Jordan Spieth will be there. Ricky Fowler did not qualify, so it's another kind of name when you're talking about. Yep, Rory McIlroy is going to be there. A lot of things. Are you going to check out the Masters this weekend? I mean, obviously, I watch golf on a somewhat normal basis. I play a lot of it on the PGA. How do you feel about the Masters? How does it feel like as a golf fan?
I just want to say Jim Nantz has the best gig in all of sports, right? Like
Yes,
going from March Madness to now he's calling the Masters, today for people that are listening day of podcast release. I'm learning Mills.
Love it.
For me, I definitely watch the Masters every year. I try to make a point to like check in more so on Sunday than anything else, as I love the final day of the Masters, like the drama, the pageantry, like all that. Like I always love that. And the green jacket ceremony is dope, right? Like you just get chills watching that.
It's one of the best events in sports. Yeah.
I'm going with, there's a lot of people that are picking, some of the more favorites. I'm probably butchering his last name, Tony Finau or Finau. I know he's an underdog as of right now, but like, I just feel like that dude needs to get over the hump. And I feel like this is going to be a year that someone who's not a favorite pops out. He's still, somewhat of a favorite, but he's not like a favorite. He's who I'm going to run with for this year's Masters.
He's at plus 3,500 betting line right now to win. To put a comparison on it, Dustin Johnson, who is the favorite, is sitting at plus 900. So
okay.
You're right. He's kind of middle of the field. He's like about 10, 11th to do it. I tend to think it's going to be Jordan Spieth. I think Jordan Spieth has been kind of like warming up a little lately. He's not as hot as a guy like, say, I think Colin Morikawa is a guy that's had 3 top 5 finishes. Or I'm sorry, no, Victor Hovland had 3 top 5 finishes. Colin Morikawa's looked really good recently. John Rahm has looked good. A guy to keep your eye on is Bryson DeChambeau. One of the most entertaining guys to watch will be Bryson DeChambeau, because he's either going to decimate the entire course, or he is going to be plus 15 at the end of round 2, looking for his ball in the water. Because that's just he has that like feel to him in terms of if everything's going well, everything's going good. If everything's not going well, that's where you're going to find him. But good.
No, I kind of wonder if they're going to do for Bryson what they did with Tiger all those years ago when they started to Tiger proof the course, where they were like, okay, we're going to make things longer, or we're going to add these legs here, or whatever, just to sort of make it more difficult for him. Like, I wonder how much that went into their thought of like, we need to think of like, how is Bryson going to approach this? I saw that like a couple weeks back where he hit one like 360. Yeah, or something. He's
a big swing. Like, but that's the thing is like he's all or nothing, and that's what makes him one of the most fun to watch. If you guys are getting into the Masters, into golf, look up Bryson DeChambeau. Look when he's playing. It's literally one of the most fun to watch. He has fun on the course, and he will provide either excellent golf or the car wreck that you're looking for. One of those two things will happen. So, speaking of the Masters, this is a great segue here. EA Sports Golf announced today that they're going to have license to all 4 majors. So we're talking about the Players
Big.
Championship. They're going to have the FedEx Cup playoffs. They're going to have Augusta National licensed in their game, along with a host of PGA golfers that you'll be able to play as. We talked about this last week where we said Tiger signed on to 2K right as EA Sports announced that they were going to do a PGA game. This is pretty crazy, right? We said the one thing they're going to be able to do, if you got Tiger on one side, you got to get courses or golfers on the other side. And man, did they come out swinging when they said, you know what? You got Tiger, we got Augusta. This is massive. This is a massive thing for EA.
Agreed. My issue here with what EA did, right? Like they made the logical play, right? To your point again, 2K has Tiger. You have to go the other route of getting official courses and getting the course that people care about the most for a golf game, Augusta. They talk about in that little press release, like Road to Masters. I don't know if they're talking about it more as like content or a mode. They don't call it a mode per se, but
right.
How do you do a Road to Masters anything, content mode, whatever you feature, whatever you want to call it, without the man, the myth, the legend, Tiger Woods?
Yep.
That is going to be interesting. I assume they're probably going to center it more around your character and talk about some of the other history and pageantry. Like, can they even mention Tiger in this game? Like, I don't know how that side of it's going to go.
I don't think so. I think 2K has the exclusive license not only for Tiger himself, but for his likeness, his name, his all his products. So like in terms of equipment and stuff. So that does provide one really interesting like piece of dichotomy there is we've got, for the first time in a very long time, we've got a legitimate sports game battle in our hands. And both teams are in their own corner. They're coming out swinging. One swinging with Tiger, one swinging with PGA golfers, one swinging with course creation and what they've already got built in with HB Studios, who has been nothing short of fantastic as a developer. And then the other side says, okay, that's fine. We're gonna have all of the pageantry for Augusta, and we're gonna have. And they showed the cover. The cover of the game, from what we see, is not a golfer. It's Augusta. They're leaning on the fact that they have the Masters. And they even got the Masters Twitter account to tweet out the partnership, which is, again, huge. It's just cool to see competition again. Can I say that? Can I say that competition's breeding this? It's breeding this fight feel where they're not taking shots at each other much.
He did.
Much. I mean, they take little couple swings about the PGA not being able to play as PGA golfers in 2K, but it's really cool to see two games going, you know what? This is what we got for you. No, this is what we got for you. It's like an auction house for like your playtime. Where do you want to spend your money? Let's go back and forth. We need this. We need this back in sports games, man.
Amen.
I for the longest time, I was one of the ones at the top of the wall going, competition isn't that big a deal. They're all competing against each other. I'm wrong. You need competition in the sport to see what's going to happen. And I think this has been really awesome to see. So, and what happens when you don't have competition? We get MLB The Show 21, who had their franchise premiere on this past Thursday. This, as you listen to this, the feature premiere they're doing is all their next gen functions. So definitely check that out over on their Twitch or YouTube. Again, because I'm leaving after this. I'm leaving the negativity to MLB The Show away. Okay, I'm going back to positive bills. They announced almost nothing for franchise mode again. They announced Trade Logic, which I'm going to be very clear. Madden put out Trade Logic update in a franchise patch for Madden 21. The way I understand it, they are looking to, and we had a conversation about this on another podcast that I was on this week. They're looking to redo franchise mode, and I respect that. But you need to do that. You need to do what Madden did. Sit your franchise guy down, sit your executive director, sit something, executive producer. I don't care. Give me somebody in front of a camera, not Ramon, somebody else in front of a camera. Look at the camera and go, listen, we get it. We screwed up. Okay. But here's what we're going to do to make it right to you. This is our plan. This is our roadmap. This is what we want to put in the game. We're not guaranteeing everything in the next game, but we need to have all of this in. You don't need to look at me and go, you ready video? You ready YouTube? You don't look at me and redo your UI and go, depth charts, okay? And act like you just handed me the keys to the castle, because that's not the way it works. People are smarter to understand that all you did was redo the UI and you change player value. And the same time you change player value, by the way, you literally put a Francisco Lindor asking for $22 million a year after he signed a $34 million a year deal, which is going to be in the game, which you know what that's going to make? It's going to make his $34 million deal look like to the Mets in game that he was overpaid, and they're going to want to trade him away because he's overvalued.
Yep.
I just that was in a prepared feature premiere, a prepared pre-recorded feature premiere. That mistake was in there, and they tried him, and then they go, don't worry, trust us. I can't trust you when you can't get your own 10 minutes about franchise right, okay? Open up, be transparent. I hate to say this, GGB. Be more like Madden. I never thought I'd have to say that, okay? Be more like Madden. They're being transparent about their franchise problems. Yes, it took a worldwide trending hashtag, but that's okay. Be more like Madden. Tell us what you want to do.
Yeah, dude, this is wild to me. I'm reliving the live stream. So I missed the first couple of minutes for the live stream, and I came in.
You didn't miss anything.
And I was watching like the comments go through. I'm like, okay, this is not good. You can already tell people weren't super happy with what they were sort of talking about and coming through about. But for me, like, your point is exactly hitting the nail on the head. What they gave us in their like feature list for franchise are quality of life updates that Madden did. And if Madden, who has been respectively bottom of the barrel in franchise mode for closer to a decade than half of a decade at this point, if they're able to give what you're doing in mid-cycle and you can't do that in full cycle, like, what are you doing? Stadium Creator is not a franchise feature. It is
Say it again for everybody. No.
Yeah.
There's no technically. Stadium Creator is a game feature. It is not a franchise feature, because they're
100%.
using it in D&D. They're using it in Diamond Dynasty, and they showed it in Diamond Dynasty and how they have it. They spent time putting 150 predisposed stadiums out there so that way it could be competitively balanced. You competitively balanced a feature. It's not a franchise feature.
Exactly. And the biggest point of Stadium Creator to add on to that is they talk about you can make your stadium however you want it, but if you want to use it for online play, you have to use these predetermined objects for the walls and things of that nature. So 100%, that mode was thought with Diamond Dynasty in mind. We also have not heard if there's going to be things that you can acquire for your stadium, which then are linked to Diamond Dynasty, is what I would have to assume, which means they're monetizing that, which again shows that it's not a mode or a feature thought of for franchise mode. That was frustrating. I think what was more frustrating for me, Mills, again, I missed the first couple of minutes, so there's that. But to see them wrap up franchise and immediately throw us into, hey, I know you're disappointed. They didn't say that, but like, hey,
no, you're about right.
Now that we've talked about franchise mode, we've got Diamond Dynasty to talk about here, and they shoehorned Diamond Dynasty into fill time and to try to dangle a little carrot over for you to go over to that mode. That is a slap in the face. They don't care about franchise mode. I know game development is hard. Sports gaming development is one of the toughest out there, but we have heard for years, the same way we heard with Madden's franchise mode, we're working on it. Next year's the year. We're going to focus on this. Franchise is always cast aside. And until you do what Sean Grady did for Madden, of standing in front of a camera, to your point, Mills, and say, we messed up, we need to do better, here's what we're going to do, and give a roadmap, I don't trust anything you have to say. That is not a personal attack. That is just, you've shown that you don't care about the mode. Why am I to believe anything you say after you said for years you're going to update the mode?
And the promises you've made when you cut online franchise, you said it was because of the servers. You would rebuild the servers, and then online franchise, you'd put it back in. It's not in. Custom Leagues is in. We haven't heard anything about Custom Leagues. I did get confirmed Custom Leagues is back in the game this year, but we have not heard anything about updates to it. You told us that franchise mode, that March, October was the new vision for franchise mode. It's still a single season mode. And mind you, you can't customize any of it because, you ready? Because it's got Diamond Dynasty ties to it.
Shocker.
You redid Road to the Show this year. You added a narrative to it. What else did you add to it?
Ball player.
And what does ball player connect into?
Diamond Dynasty Mills.
You gotta be slicker than that. All right? You got two guys in this podcast, we're not even top of the mountain, okay? We're not even top of the mountain when it comes to brains. Let's be fair. GGB might have a 1600 SAT score that he got by cheating, and
I forgot my calculator for my SAT, so
I couldn't even get my name right on the SAT. Believe me, I'm sub 400 half the time. But even we're smart enough to see where everything piles into, and that's fine. That's your money-making mode. And to be fair, your money-making mode is designed better than any other money-making mode in any sports game. We've been very open and clear that Diamond Dynasty is the best card collecting mode going. But when you take your funnel, and at the top of the funnel, it's franchise mode, Road to the Show, March to October, everything else, and it kind of slides. Remember community challenges? Remember how they were all tied into Diamond Dynasty mode because you get stubs from that? Remember, they're all at the top of the funnel, right? And at the bottom of the funnel is Diamond Dynasty. At some point, I'd really like to see a second funnel that goes, hey, online, offline. Keep your franchise mode. And that's the thing, is that there's no way to tie franchise mode in because you'd lose customization. You'd lose the ability to use all those really awesome roster vaults. Just be transparent. It's not that hard. I get it. And what I want you to do, developers, because I know someone's going to watch this, I want you to go back to the bigwigs, okay? I want you to go back to the heads up on Sony, okay? I want you to tell them, look, everybody else is doing it. And that doesn't mean it's okay, but even EA's being transparent. EA might be the biggest devil in gaming, and they're being transparent. Like, they're being 100% transparent. They're saying, hey, look, we get it. We're on the 7th level of hell, but we're trying to climb back to 5. I'm Sean Grady, and I know franchise mode is important. It's not that hard. Sony, don't go to the 7th level of hell, all right? Don't do it. I get it. MLB published your game to GamePass. That might have been a little force-handed. We'll get into that in a second here, because that's a big thing. Give us an actual franchise mode back and tell us what you want to do. Let us work with you. Let your franchise creators work with you. Actually ask them what the hell they want in the game once in a while. That would be really nice. So I brought up another small point there, and I want to talk about it. MLB The Show is going to Game Pass. That's also been announced. That's massive. That is a massive get. As two guys that have been on Game Pass, not even apologists. What's the word for it? Like, we've been all on Game Pass. We love Game Pass. Whatever we are, you're going to be able to get the full version of MLB The Show 21 on Xbox, free on Game Pass on April 20th. You won't be able to play the early access version. Understandable. But also, what they slid in there was that if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you'll be able to play MLB The Show 21 on your phone through xCloud. That is, I'm almost going to say that's almost as big as putting it on Game Pass. Talk to me about Game Pass and MLB The Show on Xbox.
It's so massive. And again, if you have not got Xbox Game Pass, you can probably find, I think there's a deal for new people for like $1.
Always a deal. Yeah.
It's literally insane value. Like, try it out, cancel it immediately after, just to, cover your basis or whatever. But like, I guarantee you're going to want to go re-up it afterwards. It is an incredible value. Having it on the phone works for so many different things, right? Whether you have kids, or you're young, or you're old like me or whatever, like, you can be able to play Diamond Dynasty, go through your cards, set lineups, pull packs in franchise mode, look at trades, look at rosters. Like, the amount of times that I've looked at something on my phone or on a tablet and said, like, okay, I'm going to be playing like, 2K21 or whatever that essentially might be, and then say, like, I want to go look at the team I'm playing and scout them tonight, or I'm going to go pull a couple of packs tonight, or whatever that essentially is. Like, the ability and convenience to do that is phenomenal. How many times, if for anyone that has, a significant other or a spouse or what have you, sometimes you want to be in the same room, but maybe your system isn't in that same room. You can now be in the same room playing that game while still spending time with a significant other, and everyone's happy. Like, it is such a good win. I love what Xbox is doing with that.
Yep. And to be fair, the other thing that xCloud is going to bring above remote play, from all of my experience from xCloud against remote play, there is some lag involved in remote play because you're playing on your console remotely. Okay, no matter where you are, there's going to be a little bit there. And I play NBA pretty successfully in remote play. xCloud takes a lot of that away because you're playing it literally on your phone. Your phone is what's driving the experience. And when it comes to MLB The Show, any little bit of lag you can remove is important. So getting that away from remote play and putting that actually in the xCloud, I think people are overlooking it because playing a console game on your phone is still kind of like looked at a little weird. I think when xCloud finally goes full here out of beta, I think a lot of people are going to look at it and go, wow, we've been sleeping on this. And the fact that MLB The Show is going to be in that program is going to be slept on until it's not. So really, really super excited for that. What a huge win. By the way, we did talk about that. It was published to Game Pass by Major League Baseball. It was not published to Game Pass by Sony. So there going to be some kind of working there where Major League Baseball told Sony, hey, we're doing this. Okay. Now, not necessarily to Xbox. Well, I guess it's to Xbox too, but specifically to Game Pass. Something happened. Okay. And I don't know if it happened in 2019 when they were announcing this, if they threatened the license, maybe, because we've talked about for the longest time, why would MLB want a single platform experience when you're a major sports game?
Yeah.
Whatever it was, it came out that MLB published this game, and I'm curious what that deal or what that behind the scenes looked like when it happened.
Yeah, for me, I think it has to be licensing for that. I can't think of anything that would have put them in a position where they're like, okay, like, we get it, we understand, we'll make that happen, or we'll work as good partners or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, baseball being back on Xbox, this is the first time Xbox gamers have had a simulation baseball game, I think, since MVP 07, or no, I mean, you can call the MLB 2K series whatever, but I think for most people that series had a lot of issues, and so people really look back at like the MVP like 05 as being MLB. You had MVP 07, which is NCAA. MLB 2K ran for a little bit, but it just
All-Star Baseball back in the day. Like people remember that acclaim game, like
Inside Drive
from Microsoft directly was so good. They have not had, they've had a simulation baseball game. They haven't had an MLB simulation game in a long time.
Yeah.
They have had a very amazing baseball experience on their console. One that went into Game Pass for a little while. Super Mega Baseball 3. I actually asked very openly a little while ago on Twitter. And this is going to be, I'm going to talk about this because it's a little weird for me, okay? A little weird for me.
You're an insider.
So I'm not an insider. That's the thing, is like I've dealt with Super Mega Baseball before, but I've never been like, inside with them. I've never been like, hey, let's do this. So I tweeted on March 31st, is there going to be a Super Mega Baseball 4? Because patch 6 just came out and did a lot of really good things to the game, to their franchise experience, which again, their franchise experience better than MLB The Show right now. They replied back to me on April 7th, a full week later. You'll just have to wait and see what our next project is. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? Did you just say project? They didn't. Let me be very clear. This team, the Super Mega Baseball team, did not say what our next baseball game is. They said project, which starts opening up all the vaults, all the brain vaults. Are Super Mega what? Football? Super Mega basketball? Oh, tell me, what do you want? If you could go to MetalSoft right now and be like, make this game, what are we making?
Man, I want them to do every sport, but if I had to prioritize, I'm going football. I think the basketball makes some sense here. I could see them doing that, but I think when I'm thinking, I mean, you and I have been around game development long enough to understand sort of like how things are necessarily working.
Yep.
When I'm looking at, okay, stadiums and assets they can use, amount of players on the field, body types, all these different things, football makes so much more sense to me with what they've already built in baseball than it does with really anything else. Football would also be a massive get for them because, and I'm speaking American football, not
Agreed.
European
No, I agree,
soccer
yeah.
or whatever. But
I'd love to see a super mega soccer game. That'd be kind
I
of cool
could see soccer. Soccer is honestly my number 2 pick for them, and what I could see working because again, the stadiums, the assets, a lot of that works really well for them. But for me, a football title would be huge because they can do their creation tools. They can open them up a little bit more. You can have people mimicking, obviously, NFL teams. You can have them mimicking college teams.
Yeah.
To me, when they said project, my brain, when I read your tweet, I was like, they have to be doing something football related because it would push them into capitalizing on people's desire for a college football experience, making all these creative teams and how they've started to build a league system in. They've made all these great adjustments. It just makes so much sense to me.
Oh, super mega hockey. I
Be
want
dope
it so
too.
bad. I would just love all of see, and that's the thing this is what I love about games is that an innocent social media line immediately opens up all our creativity, whereas some of the quote unquote innocent social media lines we don't get lead us to like the wrong path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Sony not talking about MLB The Show is almost as damning as Super Mega Baseball going, hey guys, we have another project. We can't talk about it right now, but we have something. And immediately go, if Sony went, hey, look, guys, we're working on franchise mode. We can't talk about it yet, but we're committed to it. That'd be so much better than, hey guys,
100%.
we've ripped apart trade logic. That's it. Bye. I just whatever.
And I will say, man, we had a great tweet from Brian, the Levi Wasbury 13. I'm probably butchering your name. I'm sorry, but he says, "A fellow offline gamer, are you keeping your expectations low for the franchise mode, or hopefully optimistic for surprises in regards to MLB The Show 21?" I think Mills and I are both in the camp of nowhere close to being optimistic. Like I'm as low as you can probably get with what that franchise mode will offer. Personally,
I'm with you to an extent. I'm with you that I don't think there's any surprises. They would have given it. They gave so little detail that the only surprises we're going to see is just what they did to the trade logic or what they did to the player value, which is going to be a lot of under the hood stuff, which only people that go looking for it are the ones you're going to see. So like opening weekend, I'm definitely going to test the trade logic or test the player value and see just how viable franchise mode still is. Will the player value and trade logic help franchise mode? I mean, if it works, yes. If it works, yes. But again, my problem that I keep going back to, Levi, is the Lindor screen really upsets me, man. Yeah. The Lindor's especially when he signed so soon before. Okay, he signed so soon, right? My biggest problem is, Brian. I know your name's Brian, not Levi. I apologize. My biggest problem is that could literally ruin the Mets. If the Mets see him as a $22 million a year player, but are going to pay him for 34, that could change how they see him. And like, that really bugs me, man. It really bugs me. So I hope I'm wrong. I've been right too often to understand. Well, I mean, in this case, in case of franchise mode, like I normally can see these kind of things. So fingers crossed. But I don't think there's any surprises. I don't think they pulled back I don't think they pulled the curtain in front of us for anything. I think we've seen everything.
I feel you. I agree. I have a larger problem, I think, from my side. The biggest issue for me when it comes to franchise, and this also impacts the road to the show, is the fact that they have gotten rid of carryover saves. If there was one thing that was incredibly redeeming about the MLB The Show, road to the show, and franchise, is the ability to play the previous year, however many years. Like I have a dude that I have been literally playing with since MLB The Show 15. Kendall King. I've been running that series, one of my first YouTube career series that I ever did. That dude has 7. The goal was to break the home run record this year in that series. I can't do that because MLB The Show is now getting rid of, out of the blue, carryover saves there. Franchises that I essentially had that I've been playing offline are DOA at this point. That to me, again, is like, as we look at what franchise has, and I get that they have to, if they're going to commit to a franchise overhaul, there are things that have to be necessarily pulled out or whatever. But there are things that are super important to a very passionate community, and that just feels like one of them, in my opinion.
I will say this: it would be so much easier to take if they sat somebody down and was like, "Hey, look, we're ripping apart franchise.
Yep.
We understand," and they're not ripping apart franchise. To be fair, they're leaving franchise intact and ripping apart pieces of it. That scares the hell out of me too,
Yep.
because we've seen experiences. Again, every developer's different, but when I've talked about the burrito before. The burrito thing is gaining traction. But when you tear a burrito apart, you don't put it back together, and they're tearing the burrito apart and trying to put different ingredients in it. It's really tough to put it back together correctly. Don't be surprised if we see some bugs around this trade logic because of this that aren't necessarily the trade logic that are built into other parts of the game. Because you rip code out and put code back in, that's incredibly tough to do. So, little worry there. But you know what I'm not worried about? I'm not worried about any more 5-star reviews, because we're going to get them rolling in, because we're the best podcast, sports gaming around. Aren't we? Am I right?
Maybe.
I'm right.
You're like one of the... I mean, there's not a lot of them, so we got to be up there, I hope.
Oh, well, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, just because they're not a lot of them. I mean, we're so good. Timmy, stop calling me McFoley. I know you can hear this.
Also, shout out to my guy Enrique. Enrique is always asking me about the podcast, so I'll give a big shout out to Enrique. I told him 3 weeks ago I would tell him hey and shout him out.
Enrique, my dude.
It's my bad.
Come see me. You know, GDB doesn't love you like I love you.
Go Troll Mills. Go Troll Mills and call him McFoley.
You've said, hey, hold on a second. I've literally got some of your viewers coming to my Twitch channel trolling me, by the way, so we're clear. That being said, bring them all over, baby. Bring them all over. I can take it. Bring your stars over, convert them into bits. I think there's some kind of tool you can do that for on some illegal foreign website. So wrap us up, GGB. Until next time.
Oh, you think you know someone of them Mills is trying to steal my viewership? I'm crying.
I want the stars.
I'm a dead streamer.
Facebook gaming and rule.
I'm a dead streamer now. Great episode, Mills. Again, as Mills mentioned, keep those 5-star reviews coming in as we see them come in, as Apple finally approves them so we can actually see them, especially if they're written. We will shout you out. We promise. At least I will, because I care about you, and Mills maybe does not care about you. If you were excited about franchise mode, I'm sorry. It's not going to be great in MLB The Show 21. Maybe it will. Psych. My name is GoodGameBro. Mills still has his beard for a couple more days, weeks, whatever you want to say, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Ciao.